Today we're just going to do very, very basic watercolor. We're just going to kind of block in colors, use pen detail, and paint a fun bookmark that would be usable in in book reading. Wow, my brain just made that real difficult. So, this is what we're doing. Feel free to change up the colors. Feel free to change up the design. Um, I will do this one the same because it's what I have already done. So we're not going to do an outline for this one. I eyeball the center, put a line, and then you want your two spots that your line is coming down to off to the side, like that. I'm going to move the palette out of the way to give me a little bit more room. And it's a curved line that comes down. It's not a super big curve, but it comes down like that. And then you want to match that curve shape on the other side as best as you can. Okay, so I didn't do it very well. That's okay. That's what erasers are for. I think I made the line too far out, first of all. Let's see if we can match our shape a little bit better. It's close enough. We're gonna add a shadow on this guy. So if you remember back when we would do like letters and stuff, where you put a little bit of a line and then that's your shadow. Basically, it's a drop shadow. So we want to get our little drop shadow in here. All right, so it's kind of buried in the sand. So I have a wavy sand line in front of it just to kind of show that it's buried in the sand. So the tip of the bottom of your board is buried in the sand and your tip is up, and you can do your horizon or your edge of your sand here. Now, if you want to have a darker ocean section, this is where you would put it in, and then you would just have like the water peeking through right here, and the water would just be a little bit brighter than the sky color. Okay. Now, let's put our squiggly lines to design on our surfboard. Um, and you can do anything you want. So I have this one. Let's do this one different. Because honestly, I've painted it a couple of times and I'm getting bored with it. So you can do anything. You can do a spiral shape all over your surfboard. You can do a big flower, like a bunch of flowers going down. You can do stripes. You can do a line down like this and then two big stripes on the side. I mean, this is just your placeholder until you put what makes you happy on here. And it can be anything. Anything that makes you happy, anything that makes it what you want, which I guess would be what would make you happy. So I'm gonna change it up. Should I change it up? I don't have a poll going. This isn't a live. So let's do it exactly the same. But now I've got so many other ideas for other surfboards. So that's kind of fun. So I'm trying to match it on both sides. And I'm not a machine, so it's hard for me to make an exact mirror image. You could cut this out. You could do anything. Also, why I wanted to do the stripes because they're easier. Okay. So this one's a little bit more wavy. It has an extra wavy shape to it that this one didn't. And that's just kind of how it happened this time. So there we go. We have it sketched out. I've already painted this once, so I already have a paint palette ready. I have some dirtier paints on here. That's some older paints that I put on here for a different project. Go ahead and spritz these because they look like they want to be a little dried out. Okay. So I'm going to use a 6 because that's what I've got sitting here. So I'm going to use my 6. I'm going to put in my beach color first, then my water, then my sky, and then work on my surfboard. The colors that I'm using, I have Quinacridone gold, orange yellow, rose, and cerulean blue. So I'm going to get some of the Q gold. I'm just going to fill my brush up. I'm going to set this back here. Hopefully you guys can still see it. And that's my water. This is my beach. And I'm just laying the color down. I'm letting the paint, as it runs off the brush, give me texture and things like that. So here we're getting a nice dry brush effect because the brush is almost out of paint, which is cool because now we have like a sandy textural effect. Awesome, right? So that part's done. Rinse your brush, clean your brush, grab some cerulean blue. I'm making sure I get a very thick, dark amount of cerulean blue just to put in this water line. And your water doesn't have to go up as high as mine. It can be a tiny little sliver. It cannot exist. That is also okay. But I want this to be dark. Okay, so now we have our water line. Now let's do our sky. I have some cerulean blue on here, and we're gonna let it just work its way down the paper. So with skies, it's darkest farthest away from you and lightest at the horizon. And I am letting it dry brush itself a little because I feel like that gives me a fun cloud effect in the sky. All right, so I'm going to get a little bit more paint and tap it on my paper towel. So we don't want it too wet. And as the paint runs out, it gets lighter and lighter. You can also do this by adding water, but this is working, so that's what I'm going to do this time. Tap it on the paper towel. then I'm trying to go back and forth, side to side, so that I get the fade down. I'm going to get a touch of water. I can make sure it's nice and light. Okay, so we have streaky clouds up in here. If we want more fluffy clouds, you're going to get your brush wet. And you're just going to start kind of scrubbing in an area to lift up the color. And then dry your brush, and then come back and use that semi-dry brush to pull that color out even more. Dry it again. And we're just kind of sopping off that water and giving ourselves like cloudy shapes. You can also do this with like a wet paper towel. Do you want to work quickly while the paint is still wet-ish? And you can spread them around. Just know if you are doing clouds, they are close together at the horizon line and they get bigger and spread out up higher in the sky. So there's just some rough little clouds. It's nothing super crazy. I'm going to take my towel and pull up some more. And I like the way that turned out. I think I'm a little rough. That's not the right brush. I'm going to tone that down just a little bit right there. Okay. Now, on to our surfboard. Now, we're going to paint the two colors separately, the rose and the yellow orange or orange yellow. I did on this one, I did 2 coats of the orange to really make it pop, and then I did 2 coats of the pink. So I'm making sure it stays really creamy, really thick paint, less water. And I'm just going to fill in my edges in the orange. Now, if your paint starts to skip, it means there's not enough water. I know that we wanted a nice thick paint, but there still has to be enough water in it to make it move. And if it doesn't turn out as dark as you want, we can always come back and do another coat. I always paint on the wrong side first, and then I have to come over here and flip it around in order to paint so that I don't stick my hand in it. I don't know why. I still haven't been able to figure that out. And you can erase your lines to make them less dark before you put the color down. I wanted you guys to be able to see in the video, so the lines are a little darker than I normally would paint with, but that's okay. So here I am, I'm putting on our second coat of orange just to really make it pop. And I'm going to do the other side because I want it to stand out from my beach color. And if you don't have these colors, that's okay. Paint whatever you want. You want a blue and a yellow and then a surfboard color. So if your surfboard is purple, with lime green accents, go you. Totally fine with me. All right, surfboard's done. Yay! All right, and now we're going to get the rose, and we're just going to paint the inside the pink color. Really loading the brush up here with a lot of color. So hopefully I don't have to make multiple passes at it. Now, I've never been surfing. I just think the idea of brightly colored surfboards was really appealing to me as we're about to get more snow here in the Midwest. And I am tired of snow. I want ocean. I want pretty. And instead, I get snow. And I know snow is pretty when it the beginning of the year. Beginning of this year, the first snow is gorgeous. Multiple snows after that, then you get tired of it. And you get the snow that just kind of hangs out, and you have parking lot slush, and it's just gross. So I was dreaming of a beach, and I decided I needed a bookmark that sold me on the beach. So there we go. We did 2-ish coats of the rose. And we're done with the paint. So I'm going to set the palette off to the side. I'm going to dry this. That's what my gun's for. I am impatient. I don't want to wait, and I don't want to use the pen details until it's dry. So have to. All done. Okay, so this is pretty heavily outlined. You don't have to outline it if you don't want to, if you don't like the look of it. I want to do this side because I want to make sure the shadow is here to give it the form. And I'm using a micron pen. I don't even know what size it is. This is a 5. I think I have a brush pen. I do. For this thicker line, let's use the brush pen. Let's see what happens. So it's like a paintbrush. When you push down on it, you get a thicker line. I guess it just gives you a little bit more control than a paintbrush if you're like me and sometimes make mistakes. So there it is shadowed on one side. I know this one I heavily outlined the whole thing. I think I'm not going to do that this time. I think maybe I'll use the white to add highlights, but I don't think I want to outline the whole thing in black this time. So I'm my handy dandy, use it on my finger to make sure it works. I'm going to outline the inside color with white. So you can tell I don't like doing the same thing over and over and over again, so I often change it. So that's what I'm doing here. And it can be little changes, it can be big changes, it can be whatever you want. But it makes it more exciting, and then when I try something different, I get to see whether I like that or not. So this side's got the heavy shadow. Let's give this side a nice white outline. Okay, I like that. If you don't have a gel pen, you can do this with bleed proof white or white gouache. It's fine. So I want this ocean. Okay. I just did some little white squiggly lines to give it some water depth. This one I did the diagonal lines. On a previous one, I did swirls. So I think I'm going to do the swirls again. I am just picking the fattest part of my pink design and throwing a big swirl in it. I want to put one here. And then one up here. And you can leave it at that. You can add more swirls. You can do whatever you want. So I am doing like a wave, a dot, and a wave, and then a dot, a wave, and a dot. It looks like Morse code at this point. A wave, a dot, and a wave. And I think that's plenty. If I put too much more on it, I think it won't read as well. It'll get too busy. So I am just gonna say I think we're done. The next thing we need to do is this silver outline, which I used washi tape on this one. So we'll just do that again. So this is 1/4 inch washi tape. And I'm not really trying to tape it down as much as I am trying to get a nice even line. So just line it up with the edges. Oh, this is Canson Montval watercolor paper from my watercolor block. It's a 6-inch by 9-inch, which, as most bookmarks are 6 inches by 2 inches. This stuff is perfect for doing bookmarks because I can cut one piece and get 8 bookmarks out of the or not 8, 4 bookmarks out of the deal. So it is a nice little use of my watercolor block. I don't know why that came out so loud. The last thing I said. Why? Okay, so I am just getting the edges of this. That one's way too short to do what I was going to do. So we will put this up there. Tape down the last little piece. So I want to be very careful when I go right here because I don't want to cover up the edge of my surfboard. So I'm just using this as the guidelines. I have if a silver Sharpie, you could use a gold Sharpie or any other Sharpie. For some reason, I really like the way the silver looked on this, but I can do it in a gold. You know what? Let's do it in a gold so you guys can see what it looks like in gold. Give me a second to find the gold Sharpie. All right, so this is the gold Sharpie. Let's do it in gold. No skin off my back. So it's a fine tip Sharpie. I'm just going along the line of paper or the tape. You can also use a ruler. If you don't want to waste all your tape. You could also paint this on, but I didn't want to have to go through all the taping that would be required to do that. So, ooh, just stayed right to the inside of the surfboard. So it's perfect. All right, let's take our tape off. I am not sure why the Sharpie bled so much this time. Sometimes that happens. We also got a tear there. That's cool. It looks like clouds. I'm not too stressed. Sometimes the tape tears. If you blast it with the heat gun, it's less likely to tear. Okay, so there you have it. You have one surfboard bookmark, very similar to this one. Could be exactly like this one. It's however you guys wanted to do it. Now, I'm going to stamp the back of them and emboss them. You don't have to. And then I'm going to put it in my little sleeve. So sign the back with however you do your signature. I actually signed my whole name. And we'll call this one 2 out of 10 because it is the second surfboard bookmark. They're never going to be exactly the same. I just do not have that capability to mass produce things that always look alike. I hope you guys enjoyed painting with me and making this fun bookmark, and we'll see you next time. Bye.